Hello again, and welcome to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. This is a show where we talk about you and your retirement. We talk about all the questions that go along with retirement and talk about some of the things that are going on right now that might be getting in the way of your retirement. And Jay, there's no shortages of those, are there? I mean, there is always, I don't care if you retired 20 years ago, 30 years from now, there's always going to be stuff in the news that you're worried about, isn't there?
There's always something, Randy. Always something. It always seems to be you're planning for all these different things, and it's the one thing that you don't plan for that comes out of left field and gets you. And, you know, I heard a theory from somebody saying, you know, it's always the stuff that I can't plan for or I didn't see coming. So then why worry about it at all if I can't get ahead of it? It's like, well, that kind of makes sense.
It does, actually. All right. I'll plan as best I can. Yeah. And then if something happens, we'll deal with it as it comes. That's
as
for sure.
It comes, exactly.
So right now we're dealing with all of this stuff politically and President Trump and all the tariffs and things like that are going on, and the market swings back and forth kind of wildly sometimes. Mm-hmm. But the market has kind of shrugged a lot of this kind of stuff off. It's been kind of interesting how strong the market has been through all of this. Jeremy Siegel is a guy that you'll see on the financial networks a lot, professor at Wharton Business College, and he's one of those guys that makes a lot of comment. And he says this. He thinks that the market has kind of figured out what this whole tariff thing is going to be and where it's going to land, and that's why the market is staying strong.
So the market is seeing something. And what I've concluded it's seeing is, first of all, that tariffs are going to be 10 across the board and 30 with China, and they feel they can deal with that.
Okay, so one of the things you and I have talked about is none of these tariffs have stayed very long. It's a negotiation process, and I know it's hard for us to go through, but he thinks that's where we're going to land. Now, I'm not really happy about 30% on China because that means your iPhone is going to be 30% more when you finally have to buy one in a year or two. That doesn't sound good to me. But what do you think? Are we homing in on this, or do you think it's really very much in flux still?
I got to say, I hope he's right. I really do hope he's right. That's the market's kind of settled in on, like, this is probably where it's going to shake out. What's difficult about the environment right now, and this is I'm going to share with you the conversations we're having with clients, is that in a typical economic environment, you know, there's at least things we can look at to try and paint a picture of what's going on. We can look at GDP and unemployment and, you know, what are vehicle repossessions like, or credit card delinquencies, and kind of paint a bit of a picture on the strength of the economy. Well, when a tweet can move the market 1,000 points in a couple of hours, you know, that's something that I can't plan for, unfortunately.
Right.
But it seems that what he's saying is right, is that, what was it, 140 or 150% or something that was on China at the beginning, which at that point doesn't matter. It's a trade embargo, basically, right? If it's that high. A lot of people didn't think it was going to stay that high because it's not very practical, and that's what's happened. It might just be people are getting used to this style of negotiation. You love it, you hate it. I don't really have an opinion on it, but that's what we've got to deal with.
Yeah, and the swings back and forth, and you know, I mean, if you're 30 years old, you don't care about this stuff as much. Yeah, it's going to swing, but when you're 65 and he says something and it goes down and you lost $75,000, it's an issue. You know,
well, we've talked about this in other shows, is you should have different segments or buckets or whatever the word is you want to use, different portions of your money doing different things. Because getting into retirement and just leaving it all in the 401k or some sort of brokerage account, I say this because I see it happen over and over, right? I'm not just saying it out of conjecture. I see it happen over and over. Is that the markets, let's just say the last 15-ish years, right? They've been pretty good. You know, 2022 was a rough down year because they were raising interest rates. But before that, I mean, everything had been pretty good for a while, and people got into this sense of security that the markets only ever go up. Well, that reality has been shaken away from us recently, hasn't it? They don't just always go up. And if you don't get into the mindset of, I am in retirement and I need different purposes for different segments of my money, and it's all in the market, this is what's going to happen. When the markets go down 5% in a day, and then 5% in a day behind that, and then another 3 or 4%, and you're looking at a whatever it is, 10 to 15% loss in a very short period of time, you're going to panic, you're going to freak out, and you're going to sell out of your investments and lock in your losses because you've got nothing else set up, right? And I say this because I see people actually do it.
Right. All right, so I'm going to rat on myself here and just use myself as an example, okay? I understand that we need to move our risk back a little bit as we get toward retirement, and I have in my mind where I want to be when I'm in retirement. And that number is, and don't take this as a recommendation, okay? This is just me talking. I'm ratting on myself here. I want 35% in risk and 65% not in risk, okay? That's my goal. That's where I want to get to with my 401k. So when I was 60 years old, I backed myself off to about 50-50. Just recently, I backed myself off to 35-65 because of what's going on. And I said, I've got a nice 401k. I don't want to suffer if it goes down like what you were talking about. If it goes down 50%, to me, that's now 17%, and I can recover from that. So am I trying to be a market timer? Is that what I'm doing? Am I falling right into the trap here? Or does that make sense? If somebody came to you and said to you exactly what I just did, what would your recommendation be?
Yeah, so the first recommendation I would have is that it probably shouldn't all be in a 401k.
Okay.
There are things that you have access to for retirement planning tools that are not going to be available in the 401k. You're still working, so that's one thing that's a little bit different in your situation than somebody who's retired. But I can tell you, the market timing, it doesn't work. If you get it right, go and buy a lottery ticket that day because that's the one day you're going to get it right. You're never going to get it right again. And I mean, it's not you just thinking this way. Over and over, we have the discussion with clients, and we'll just walk them through it, and they'll say, hey, let's just get out of the markets, and then once everything's better, we'll get back in. I was like, you're the boss. We're going to do what you like. This is a deal. You've got to tell me when that day is. Because I can tell you from the recovery that's happened since April, right? Yeah. This is the perfect example. And I shared this, I can't remember how long ago. It was maybe a couple months ago. I can't remember. Everything's kind of going into a blur right now, Randy, with a baby in the house. We had a client, and we've got him set up, and he's got several things going on with his life right now, health issues and stuff, which I'm sure are compounding his decision-making, right? And it was early April when the markets were just going bananas, right? Mm-hmm. And he said, no, look, I've got to get out of the markets. I want to get 50% out of the markets. I'm like, all right, that's not the recommendation, but look, man, you're the boss, right? Like we work for you. I don't think you should do it, but okay. Markets go down a bit more. Oh, I can't take it. I want to get fully out of the markets. I spent probably a half hour trying to talk him out of it, trying to talk him down off the ledge. And I just wasn't getting anywhere. And I said, okay, that's fine. We'll do as you wish, right? And that was April 7th. Okay. So his idea was, no, we'll just get out. We'll let this all calm down, and then I'll get back in. And I said the same thing. Okay, we're gonna do what you like. You've got to tell me when it is. All right. Yeah, I'll tell you. Well, he didn't know, but it was the next day was the day that you should have got back in. And that was the day the NASDAQ was up 12% in the day. Oh, and it hasn't been a straight line since then, but that loss will never be recovered, right? That is the essence of the folly of market timing, right? Is you, especially the way it is now, right? Because the reason it went up so much is Trump was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to take these tariffs off for 90 days. How would you know he's going to do that, right? So that's why it's especially dangerous in that environment to try and pick the time, because there's just no way you're going to do it.
Well, there's lots of stories about if, you put $10,000 into a retirement account when you're 25 years old, it'll be this much when you're 65, $1.7 million or whatever it is. But if you miss the top 10 days, you're not even going to make close to that.
It was, and I'm not going to get these numbers right because I've got them on my PC here somewhere, but it was something like, yeah, if you put in $100,000 in 1980 and you missed the top 10 days, it was millions of dollars was the difference, right?
Yeah.
And you've got to be freaking good to hit the top 10 days when you're talking about, what, 36,000 days or more?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You might as well. It's time in the market, not timing the market, as the old saying goes. You're listening to Jay Kirkwood on Clear Skies Retirement at Secure Financial Management. We would love to have these conversations with you. It's an uncomfortable time. There is no doubt about it. You're watching the market go up and down, and as you get closer to retirement, I know I am. I'm looking at my accounts a lot more than what I used to. I bet you're doing the same thing. It kind of gets to you. Well, let's have a conversation with somebody who deals with it and has seen what Jay has seen over the years. Retire210.com is our website. At the bottom of the page is a place for you to put a little information in there, and then our team will reach out to you and say, okay, what do you want to talk about? What is concerning you? Let's see if we're a good fit. You can call us as well, 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. We've talked about the fear of running out of money, and we've talked about that a lot. JP Morgan did a study that found that people who have a pension or a pension-like income spend 42% more money than those people that are just peeling money off their investments. 42% more. But most of us don't have a pension. But we can create our own. So when they say a pension-like income and giving people the confidence to go out there and spend more money, what are we talking about here? Because people are looking at that going, I don't have a pension, so that's not me.
Yeah, well, I mean, this comes back to our discussion that we've had in the past about different buckets of money doing different things for you, right? And I mentioned to you earlier that you were talking about your 401k and kind of different mixtures you've got in there. And I said, well, the first thing I'd consider is not leaving in the 401k because there's things that you could implement that you're not going to be able to get access to in your 401k, right? And so whenever we're talking about pension, Social Security, whatever it might be, I mean, really what we're discussing there is a stream of income that you can't outlive, right? With Social Security, you start taking it at 62 or 67 or 70 or whatever it might be. Now, do you want to know the way you really stick it to Social Security?
Live a long
Live to
time.
100. Yeah. Live to 100. You really show them who's boss there, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
I'll show you.
And all of those things we just mentioned are annuities. Okay. Social Security is an annuity. Your pension through your company is an annuity. And annuities get bad rap sometimes for a good reason, because some of them are very poorly recommended and very poorly understood. But in the event that it's a good fit and people understand it, they actually love it because they're like, oh, like, do you mean that this is going to pay out for the rest of my life, like Social Security? And I was like, well, it's not Social Security, right? That's a government program. But as far as the concept of this will pay for the rest of your life, then yes. And the reason people that have pension or pension-like incomes, right, is because they cannot run out of the money, right? So if you cannot run out of the money, you don't have to preserve wealth for a date that you don't know is when it's coming, right? Which is when you're going to pass. We have a couple that came to us from another advisor recently, and they both retired quite young. They both, one retired at like 54 and the other guy retired at like 52 or something, right? And they're 55 and 58 now. And as they were moving their accounts over, we said, hey, look, I know you had another advisor. We're going to start from the beginning. As though you're brand new to this, we want, and they're like, okay, great. Let's get on the same page. And one of them said to me in a meeting, which I'm so glad he said this because it helped me understand their biggest concerns, right? And they've got over $3 million together. So they should be having a very good retirement, right? And he said, yeah, I'm kind of just thinking, well, we don't spend a whole lot of money and we've saved a lot, and man, if we can even just get to Social Security, then we'll have a couple thousand coming in each, and we can survive on that if we have to. And I said to him, I said, it makes me really sad to hear you say that, because what you're saying is that you don't feel that you have the freedom or security or whatever the word is you want to use to spend the money that you have. I said, am I right? Because that's what it sounds like. And he said, yeah. He said, we want to enjoy our money, but I'm very concerned about running out of it. And he said, if we get to Social Security, at least I know I can't run out of that, and we're not going to have, an extravagant life, but at least it's safe. And I said, all right, man, we've got a lot of work to do, because this is nonsense that you guys have saved $3 million, and your concern is if I can just get to Social Security. And so we've put some things in place, and we said, hey, look, we can get you guys set up where you've got hundreds of thousands for the rest of your life, and you don't have to worry about it. And that's one of the joys you get out of this job, right? Is like you're able to take somebody like that who, they don't feel hopeless, but they feel insecure for sure in their situation. And you can show them, you've sacrificed a lot to save what you've got. Let's make sure you enjoy it and get them to that point. Yeah, anyway, that we got sidetracked a little bit there.
But that is such a great story, because there's a person, we talk about the confidence to spend.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what we want to build for you. It give you the confidence that, we talk buckets of money. Okay, that bucket that I just emptied, it's going to get filled up next month. It's just like when you had a paycheck for your employer, it's the same kind of thing. So let's build that for you. Let's build that confidence. And that's what comes from sitting down, building a financial plan, working with a financial advisor, talking to Jay, going through the process. We have a 5-step process that you can see on our website, which is retire210.com. Retire210.com. If you're very concerned, even if you're not concerned about your retirement, you just want to know how it's going to work, let's do it. Let's get the numbers going here. Retire210.com or 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. All right, somebody wrote into the Market Watch Advisor column with this. I'm 90 years old, and I still have $1.5 million in my IRA. Congratulations.
Somebody who was scared to spend, Randy.
Right, probably so.
Yeah.
My RMDs are killing me. This year, Uncle Sam says I have to take $123,000, which means 85% of my Social Security check is being taxed. It's killing me on my Medicare premiums. Is it too late for a Roth conversion? All right, so this is the guy. Yeah. This is the person that we're looking at in our future. If you have all that money in that tax-infested bucket, this could happen to you. Is this a good idea at age 90 to do Roth conversions? Is it too late? What will we tell this guy?
I like your tax-infested bucket term. That's exactly how I feel about it too. Well, let's break this down a little bit, right? So his question is, is it too late for me to do a Roth conversion? He can do a Roth conversion, but it's not going to make a difference to his situation. I mean, his real pain point here is his RMDs.
Yeah.
Right? So once he takes those RMDs out, whether he converts them to a Roth, he's paying the taxes on it. If he takes it out and he puts in just he's paying that. It doesn't matter, right? He's still paying the taxes on it. This is his issue. And I sound like a broken record here, I know, but this is the problem. He didn't plan 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. He's 90. He has to take, and this is what I can tell you is these RMDs are actually going to get worse. Because the percentage that you have to take, I mean, the balance is going down, which helps him. But the older you get, the more they increase that percentage of what you've got to take, right? So this is, 8%, 9% roughly of his balance. And that's just going to keep going up. So I wish there was, a magic wand you could wave to help this guy. But the magic wand was time. And that time was 20 years earlier, 25 years earlier.
Yep. To sit down and say, And maybe at that time he had $2-3 million, or maybe he had $1 million, and the money grew.
Right.
And I mean, we all want our money to grow, but guess who's cheering us on the sidelines is Uncle Sam. Yeah, grow, because he gets more of a piece of it, doesn't he?
And it's all coming out in the worst possible tax form it can, which is ordinary income. Right? If he had done these Roth conversions early, even if it wasn't Roth conversions, right? Even if it just went into a regular brokerage account and grew, he wouldn't be forced to take a distribution. If he took the distributions, more than likely, most of the stuff that comes out would be what's called long-term capital gains, which are very tax efficient. Or the ultimate backup is if this all gets left to his heirs, they get what's called a step up in basis. And they get all the taxes wiped at date of death. There's so many better ways to do this than the IRA or the 401k. And I don't want to discourage people from contributing to those while they're working, while they're preparing for retirement. Please do, especially if you have a match. It's just the people I hear that have a match that don't take advantage of it, I was like, that is the best deal you are ever going to get in your entire life. There is no way that's going to give you an instant 100% return on your investment, right? Which is what that is when you get the match. The thing that we keep going on about is that once we're doing that transition from work life to retirement life, get on this right away. Get on this taxable account right away and start dealing with it.
If that money, that $1.5 million, were in a Roth, he could take whatever money he wanted.
Or
he
not.
Could thumb his nose at Uncle Sam and say, no, I don't have to take RMDs because I already did all that. That's a position of power. And that's a position that you want to be in. You know, maybe you don't live till 90 and have the same problem this guy does, but you could sure have this problem when you're in your 70s and your 80s. And this is the problem right here.
Do you want to be at the mercy of RMDs? Because that's what this situation is, right? He is at the mercy of whatever the RMD calculation is. And he really has no ways to mitigate it.
Yep. So let's not wait until you get into a fix, into a crisis. I mean, that's in many ways, that's what financial planning is. It's heading off these kind of crises, whether it's long-term care planning or it's tax planning or it's investment planning, whatever it is. Let's head off the big problems that are there in the future. Give us a call. Let's talk through it. If you're headed for this, let's find out about it right now. Let's do the math. It's retire210.com. That's our website, retire210.com. There you're going to see our retirement 5-step process. Get me to retirement 5-step process. It starts with a meeting. It starts with a conversation. And let's find out what you've done for retirement and what it means to you in your retirement and how we can help. Retire210.com or 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200. And remember to have this podcast delivered straight to your favorite podcast platform by hitting like, follow, or the subscribe button. Thanks again for listening to Clear Skies Retirement, and we'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jamin J. Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.